I'd always been really heavily involved in sport, so every sport I played as a kid, and I came across netball at school and instantly fell in love with it. My mum said she couldn't drag me away from it. The coaching side was a little bit stranger. I picked a university where I went to play and train at netball, and our coach there, she was very strict, and she decided to push us all into coaching as well because she felt we'd understand the game more. At first, I absolutely hated it. I remember being 18 and taking sessions and completely didn't know what I was doing, but over time obviously my confidence grew and I enjoyed it a lot more. So I'm currently player coach at Surrey Storm, so that job entails looking after the Super League team, which is the Surrey Storm main team, and then I look after the university team, so there's 4 of those at the University of Surrey, and then I also do a lot of community coaching, and that ranges from sort of primary school through to elite sort of school or club level. Range, obviously. What I always say with netball, and I suppose with any sport, the basic skills and movement patterns are what you need everywhere, but it's then how you put that into a session to make people understand. I often find we get kids come through at sort of 15, 16 that haven't got those basics, and as a coach it's really frustrating then trying to teach them the tactical awareness. So a lot of my sessions cross over, but it's just how you pitch it, making things more structured for younger players and so they're easier to understand, and then letting the older players and the more elite players sort of practice it and play it in a tougher environment. So I did my first level 1 netball qualification probably when I was at uni, so that's probably about 12 years ago. That's a long time. So I did that, and again I was kind of forced into it. It was something that was quite important because I was doing a lot of coaching it with kids and at schools and at different levels at that point, so it was really important. I think the biggest thing was probably giving me the confidence. I think when you first start out as a coach, you're sort of unsure whether you're giving them the right information or the right tools. I think one of the biggest things for me was learning how to put things forward. As a player, you just kind of get on there and do it, and so as a coach to actually explain and give the players the right information was probably the toughest thing that I had to deal with. So other developments for me as a coach, I've probably tried to work with other sports. I think that's a big thing for coaches, and tried to do a lot of sort of self-reflection because I think that's again another a major point for coaches learning and going forward. Working with other sports has been important to me because it's kind of shown that a lot of things again cross over, and a lot of those movement skills and a lot of those basics happen in all sorts of sports, and actually getting players to understand different styles of play and different sports has a big impact on the sport you're trying to concentrate with them on. I think I've had quite a few experiences that have helped me develop as a coach, sort of outside of actually delivering. Playing, obviously, because I think one of the biggest things and what sometimes gets looked over as coaching is the sort of man management, the way you interact with players. I think that's only grown over time, so how I've become a lot more confident about my delivery has meant that I can interact better with players. But I think experiences of me playing and personally having coaching from different coaches all over the world and of all different levels, I suppose that's shown me what's worked for me and what hasn't, and I think that's been really, really important when I've tried to pass that on to others. Lynn Gunson. So she was our first coach at the University of Bath, where I went. She was the one that forced me into coaching. She was, we kind of call her the Oracle of netball. She changed England netball, and she changed me. She made me into an England player, and she made me a coach. And I kind of learnt so much from her. She coached in such a different way that I'd never ever seen before. And I suppose out in the other world, Jose Mourinho, because I think he's an absolute genius, and I love the way he plays with people and plays with minds. I think for me, I look at football a lot because I find it really interesting. I love the fact that a new manager can take the same group of players and actually completely change the team. They can be going on a losing streak and someone can come in and take that same group and win, and I often think that's, again, that player management side rather than the tactics. So I find that quite interesting, and I think Jose is like me as a player. I kind of mess with people on court, but off the court I don't think I've still got the confidence to do that yet. We'll get the buzz the same as I do as a player when I coach, of the winning and the improving, so it's definitely the improving. So the most things I enjoy about coaching is the kind of improvement. When I see players do something that I want them to do, I get so excited. If you speak to any of the players that I work with, I'm like a loony on the side of the court. I get really involved, but I'm so passionate about it. And when I've seen something happen, I've played in games before where I've seen them do a switch in defence where I taught them that 3 days earlier, and it happens and we get the ball, and I'm so excited at that point. And I think that's probably the best part of coaching, when you actually see what you've done end up into sort of match practice. Two things. One, getting the right thing out there. So when I'm taking a team, I can turn up and do individual sessions, and I feel completely comfortable about that. If someone asks me to fix something, I can do it. For me, working with a team has been a lot harder, because it's week in, week out. What is the one thing that you can fix in 2 hours that's going to make a massive difference to your team? So that's probably the most challenging for me. And then accepting that you've got it wrong sometimes, which is hard. It's hard to take as a coach. You become a bit of a control freak, and to actually then go, oh, hang on, I might have got this wrong, is pretty hard. And the other thing is the player management, and especially working with the elite groups. Again, with kids, I haven't got a problem, but the elite groups, especially because I'm still playing with some of them, my friends, it becomes hard with that kind of, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you did this wrong. And again, that self-reflection of myself as well, how I deal with that. They're probably the most challenging things. I gave birth to my daughter in May, and 3 months later I was back on the netball court training, and it was something really weird, because I spent the whole of last season on the bench, being pregnant, coaching the team. I went into labour the day of our semi-final, so I wasn't there, unfortunately. But I think for me it was kind of, was I going to miss it? Did I want to be back? Was I just going to want to spend time with my baby daughter? And it all kind of fell into place when she was born, and I think all those fears kind of set aside. I missed it, so I knew I had to get back. B, it kind of became an escapism. That sounds awful. I love my baby girl to pieces, and I want to spend every second of the day with her. However, that's just not possible, and not for somebody like me who's so out there all the time. So it was a real nice kind of break to get away. And I think she's chilled me out, which I think has been brilliant for my netball, because anybody that knows me, I'll be up till 3 o'clock in the morning doing video analysis, and I'll be back in at 7 o'clock in the morning training the uni girls, and I'd be on it. And this year I just went, you know what? No, I've got time with her, and when I come in, it's full on netball, but it's so concentrated now rather than non-stop thinking about it. And I think that's helped me. We've got a really good vibe around the team this year. And I think that is down to the fact that I'm trying to balance both, and that realise that I can actually do both as well. I think Project 500 is a great idea, and it's fantastic for female coaches, because it gives them a platform, it gives them some inspiration, and it gives them some confidence. If I hadn't been pushed into coaching, I wouldn't have done it. And I think it's such a male-dominated environment, sport is, that women can become quite intimidated by that. We're crying out for more female coaches, and I think projects like this, where it can bring women together and actually go, hang on, there is space for you, and we can do this, and giving them the chance to find out about courses and stuff which you don't always know about, I think is a great idea.